Hello everyone, it is a Vicious Vixen, and I just wanted to share this quick little yellow makeup look. I haven't done anything intensive in a while. This wasn't intensive, but I just wanted to go ahead and get it out there, just kind of so I get back into the swing of doing more makeup. I am going to try to start showing products on the screen. So first I did my moisturizer. I did that. I like to do that before I put on makeup. And now I'm just taking care of my eyebrows. I'm using the E.L.F brow lift. I really like this product, and I'm not doing anything special to them. I'm just combing it through, brushing it through one way and then brushing it through the other way, just to make sure that my brows are all coated before I push them back completely. Once my moisturizer has set in, I go on to my primers. I'm using the E.L.F Putty Primer and the Milk Hydrogrip. I use the Putty Primer near my nose where I have some pretty deep pores, and then the Milk Hydrogrip all around the rest of my face. Moving on to my face, I am doing my concealer first. I like to use the one that's closer to my skin cone. I just realized how that sounds. Moving on. Using the one closest to my skin tone first, I put that in my usual highlight areas and blend that out with a brush. And then I'm going to add my foundation in the places that I didn't put concealer in. I've gotten really into doing my base in one layer as much as I can. So here's my foundation. It's the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop. And I put some of that on a little palette. And I'm just going to use this brush to buff that into the places that I didn't put the concealer, as well as just kind of blending the edges of those places. That way there's not any harsh lines. And once I'm happy with that, I go in with the lighter concealer and just add that to the inner corner, the outer corner. I put a little bit on my forehead and then on my nose bridge. I don't go all the way down my nose bridge. I try to keep it just between my eyes. And just the other typical highlighting spots. Once I have those points highlighted, I'm using a wet beauty sponge. Well, not wet, it's damp. And I'm going to just start blotting those out using the beauty sponge to spread the product, as well as start to kind of blend the edges of it with my foundation. I'm going to go in with my brush at the end of that just to help with merging everything together. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to take my powders. I use a HD powder around my eyes, and then my Fit Me. I use the NYX HD powder under my eyes, my highlighted areas. And then I use the Fit Me powder to go all over my face, as well as to brush that away. So taking a different wet sponge, taking a different damp sponge. I'm just putting that around my eyes. And then I use a brush to blend everything else together. I'm going in with this E.L.F Putty this E.L.F Putty blush. I'm just warming it up in the pot with my finger before dotting it onto my cheeks. And I also blend it out a little bit with my finger before going in with that damp beauty sponge again and spreading it around, just to sheer it out a tiny bit. But I am going to come in with this AOA Studio powder blush, and I'm going to dot that over the cream blush just to kind of set it, but also amp up the color a bit. I lightly filled in my eyebrows. I was wearing a wig that had a fringe, so I didn't really try to do much shaping to them or anything like that. And I'm using the Urban Decay Brow Blade, the marker side, just to lightly add a few extra hairs for darkness or whatnot. Now to start the actual eyeshadow. First, we are taking our primer, not base, because they're two different things. And I'm just sharing that information with you because when I first started makeup, I didn't know that. I'm just taking my primer, and after putting it on my lid, I am using a brush to spread it out. I am taking it up close to my brow as well. We're not actually taking the eyeshadow color all the way up there, but I'm going to be putting a transition color there just so it's not just yellow. Unless you just want yellow up there, do you, honestly. Speaking of that, we're going to go into this single shadow palette that I have, and I'm taking Buttercupcake from Sugarpill, which is a large yellow pan of color. Yes, if you didn't pick that up. And I'm just using a flat shader brush first just to place the color on my lid. And once I was happy with that, I brushed off the excess with a large brush because I did have some fallout. And I used I think skin tone. Yeah, I used my face powder around the edges just to blend it under my brow and fade it out. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't actually have a plan for the eyeliner. I just kind of put whatever I felt like putting on my face, and then I was like, I'll just match it or try to do something similar on the other side, which became a task because, as you know, my eyes are not the same shape. No one's eyes are the exact same shape. It's very rare, but mine are definitely two different shapes. One is more elongated and the other is rounder. So it always takes a bit of time for me to try and match them up, but I did my best. I went over my crease and then connected that to my liner, and then I thickened it up. I used two different liners. One was a liquid felt tip, and then the other was a brush tip. They both they both dried down matte after I was finished, but the shape, it's not very intricate necessarily. It almost looks like one of those stickers that you could just find to put on your eye, like the face lace. But I just did that, and then in the wing, I made a little divot, like a little space, so that I could put some of the color, so the yellow shadow or the yellow water activated liner would pop through. But that was the basic. That's the best explanation I can do if you're going to recreate this look. Next, here is my favorite part because it's just dots. So while I had the black liner out, I just started putting little black dots all over my face. I did add some size variation between them. Some are bigger, some are smaller, and I tried to balance out the composition. They're not exactly in the same spaces on each side of my face, and there might not be the exact same amount on each side, but I wanted it to be balanced visually. And then I went in with my yellow water activated liner after that and just did the same thing. Just made a bunch of dots in varied sizes and shapes. I did try to put two yellow dots, not exactly right in my inner corner, but definitely in those areas because that could act as my inner corner highlight. But it was a pretty simple process, and I do love some dots. After that, I took some of that yellow shadow and just brought it beneath my eyes, so under my bottom lash line. And I just used that same flat shader brush to bring it along. I didn't bring it down very far either. It was just to connect the whole eye. And I went ahead and put on some eyelashes. I didn't do an actual liner on my lashes. I was fine with how it looked. It's just the liner that's in my crease. And I really like these lashes. I used this yellow gold shimmery eyeshadow as a highlighter. I've had it for a while, and honestly I should probably throw it out, but it's really nice and I want to hit pan on it before I do that. But I am just adding that on my forehead, my nose bridge, my cheeks where I would normally highlight, a little bit on the tip of my nose, and a little bit on my cupid's bow before I go into my liquid lipstick. This is the Glam Goth liquid lipstick in Nightmare, I believe. And I just wiped off my lip mask and I just went to town. I didn't use a liner, specifically one reason, I wasn't going anywhere. I don't normally use one, but if I'm like going to work or something, I would put one on. But since I was just chilling at home doing a makeup look, I did not do that. And I just took my time filling in my lips with the applicator, which I love. And here is the final look. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Like I said, it's been a bit since I've done something quote unquote intensive, i.e. any makeup at all. But I hope you enjoyed this look as much as I did making it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stick around for more videos, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Later.